Hi, guys.
Hello, hello. How are you doing?
Good. Good to see you. Good to see you, both of you. I usually meet people like you during events and not anymore, right? So good to see your faces here at Parrot Live. Please, let's go straight into this. Give me the short 1-minute pitch about, not even 1 minute, sorry, the 30-second pitch about your companies. And let's see how your pitch is different from each other because you really work in a very similar space. Let's start with you, Baptiste, please. Tell us about Swapcard in 30 seconds or less. I think I have a... Were you hearing good?
You're on mute. Please.
There might be some mute going on.
Sorry about that.
No worries, go ahead.
All the time.
Cutting into your 30 seconds, Baptiste.
It's okay, go ahead,
I take
Tim,
away
then.
your seconds, you only have 10 left. Yeah?
Go ahead, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Okay, so thank you, everyone. So Swapcard, we are an all-in-one event and community platform. And so we provide both registration and all the engagement part. Something about Swapcard is that you can use it for events, but also for community building. And we're really focusing on large and complex exhibition and conference.
Thank you.
That would be my pitch.
Tim, your turn. How is it different? Grip, what's going on?
So fundamentally, Grip is about moving markets forward faster. So we're a market engagement platform for organizers that are building a community and looking to empower the community to connect and to engage and to move forward faster through virtual, hybrid, and in-person events. So we work with 12 out of 20 of the largest trade show organizers and many of the large conference and corporate organizers in the world.
Love it. Thank you. I see some similarities, but also some difference. One of them is that you both talk about community. We're going to get to this right after that. Just the topic for us today is talking about hypergrowth. Can you give us a hint of what it meant for you? Maybe some numbers that you can share, maybe employees, staff. What is it that you call growth at your companies? And please, Tim, continue about the situation at Grip.
Cool. So I think for us, growth, you measure it in several ways, right? Like internal growth and then kind of the external impact that you have. So I think that one way of looking at is number of employees. Like, we went from about 15 to more than 80 employees over the last 18 months. So very significant growth in number of employees. But also externally, if you look at number of exhibitors that use the platform, right? Mm-hmm. Like more than 60,000 exhibitors used the platform in 2020, and millions of connections and meetings established in that time period, which is very significant growth to previous years. So yeah, I think there's various ways, of course, of looking at growth, internal and external. And those are two examples of that.
Good one. How is it at Swapcard?
It's quite similar. Before COVID-19, we were like 35 and we are now almost 200. So we grew a lot, the team. Like Grip, we had a lot of people who use the platform. And so I think growth also, it's the number of people we will use and log. And so which put pressure, of course, on your infrastructure. So over just the last 6 months, we had 2.5 million attendees logging and using the platform. And so, there is a lot of stress around this growth in terms of platform stability and deliverability. And so that would be the kind of growth we're looking at Swapcard.
I'm also wondering what were the biggest challenges, and that's probably one of them, like on the technical side of growing so fast. When was it harder over the last year and a half for both of you? Can you give us a bit more of the insider story of the struggles of growing so fast? Maybe, Baptiste, if you want to continue, maybe on the technical side, it's an aspect, or maybe it's on the culture side. Tell us more, please.
Sure. I think the biggest challenge, number one problem for every hypergrowth company is the people. Of course, there is a technical aspect, but finding the right people and making sure they understand what you want. And if you grow very, very fast, then you also have to make sure that they understand what they have to do, and they are very aligned with the mission of the company. And so for us, it was really finding the people. Something specific about us is that we grew very rapidly in the US, but in the US, we didn't have much people. And Swapcard is quite a complex platform that you need to understand so you can provide the support to the customer. And so it takes quite a long time to really reach that point of knowledge regarding the platform. And so when we had a lot of events last summer, we could not move employees to time zone, and because all the visas were rejected, they could not travel. And so it was very challenging for them because they had to work European time zone plus US time zone, plus I had to onboard and train people. So that was a very specific challenge for us. It was to provide support in multiple time zones and onboard a lot of people and training them. And then in terms of the infrastructure, I think we were lucky to have a very strong infrastructure with a great CTO. And so we were able to scale up very quickly. Of course, we were relying on Amazon Web Services to scale up all the infrastructure. And then we had a lot of requests regarding cybersecurity. So also we deploy a lot of tools around the platform to make sure no one could hack, because we do a lot of cybersecurity forum in the US, like Black Hat that just happened 2 weeks ago in Las Vegas. And so for me, the biggest challenge for me as a CEO is to really make sure we hire the right people at the right speed.
Thank you. How was it for you at Grip? You relate similar challenges, others?
Yeah, so definitely can definitely relate to Baptiste. I think that similar, like Grip is also a complex platform in that sense, and I think that what really helped us was kind of setting up an academy where actually we could train employees and they could actually do kind of quizzes and so forth internally in order to learn about the platform, and that helped us make sure that we could train people very effectively on the platform, and has really helped us maintain that kind of deep product knowledge, which you need to have across the globe in order to deliver a quality customer success. I think in that sense, the challenges compared to last year have definitely changed. Like last year, as mentioned, was really about scalability, keeping up with the growth of the usage of kind of existing functionality. So making sure you can maintain and grow and service that successfully from a customer success perspective. And I think now it's still looking at those points, but also looking more on like the pace of innovation of new functionality, as well as, of course, expanding your product and bringing that innovation to market at pace, and actually communicating all those new things that you're developing, both internally to your customer success and sales and project management teams, as well as communicating those new things that we are doing to our customers, and why they're valuable, how they can use them, and how they can therefore use them successfully for their events.
And tell me about your role as a CEO. Baptiste was mentioning a bit earlier about his take on this. Like, as the CEO of the company, like this moment of hypergrowth, what does it mean? Like, what is your number one priority, both internally and externally, to really guide the company to succeed?
Yeah, so I think that communication is probably the most important factor. It's like communicating where we're heading, what are the steps in between that will take us there, being very transparent and making sure that the right people are in the right place. So constantly looking to attract great talent and people that are going to help you grow. Like, we went from 2 to like 25 people in the US within 6 months. So like making sure that people know what is expected of them. You have the right structures in place, and really helping people find ways to effectively work together. So I think that's extremely important and is a core role. Like, in the end, companies, especially in this hyper-growth period, it's all about people, and that's really important. And then externally, it's speaking at events like this, communicating what we're doing, where we're heading, and of course, kind of carrying out that message and being a great proponent of that overall vision and mission of what we are looking to achieve.
Baptiste, something else to add to this? No, I think my role is very similar to Tim's role. I think in our case, like the last 12 months, I was really into being reactive to the growth, because we had so much growth so rapidly, so many clients, and we have to basically build this rocket at the same time we were traveling, let's say. And so we had to be very reactive and solve issue very quickly. And so now we are in a phase where we have now leaders. There's a lot of stuff I used to do. Now we have team leaders, very structured people who are much better than me. So they do this specific job. So now we are in a period of time where it's more being proactive and making sure that the leaders think and they come up with their own strategy, own plan, and they lead the team, and versus me, where I was really like making sure everything was correct. So it's my role is really changing into Swapcard, and this is, I think Tim is right. It's a lot about communication and making sure your team understand what they do. And then externally, there is people who say that we save the industry. I don't know if it's true. Maybe Zoom saved more the industry than us, to be frank. But it's our role as a platform to innovate and lead the market. And I think that has been a challenge for Grip and Swapcard previously, that we were in advance of the market, and the market was not maybe mature enough to understand the impact we can have at events. And I think now we have to make sure when we interact, when we speak to the global ecosystem, that event technology can really have a true impact on the event industry. And we have to make sure we don't get back to what we used to do. And so all ID die hard. And so my role externally is to really try to open the mindset of my customer and of this specific segment.
Thank you. If you have questions for our speakers, please go ahead and leave them in the Slido app, and I'll take them at the end. I want to ask you, both of you, you were already there before COVID, right? Your platforms have been quite successful already. Were kind of the go-to solutions for a lot of events that wanted to, in particular, I think for me, whenever I would talk about your companies, I would always highlight the fact that you were specialized in matchmaking. That was an area that I always considered that both of you were really good at, or like compared to other solutions that would be maybe offering something different. That was one of the key value prop that I would see at your companies. My question now is, okay, events are coming back. People are talking about hybrid. We discussed a bit this with our guest earlier. Kai from Eufy really doesn't like the word hybrid. What is your take on this? You were there before COVID. You grew massively through the lockdown. What is coming up, with hybrid events from your point of view, and how good it will be for your companies to actually work with your clients on setting up this type of formats? And please, Tim, maybe you want to go first?
Yeah, happy to. So I think that fundamentally, event organizing and the role of them has changed. So rather than it just being about in-person experiences, they now have to think year-round about the connecting of their communities. And that means that they cannot just rely on in-person and even adding a virtual layer to an in-person event. It's about year-round connecting people through virtual experiences and in-person experiences. So for me, a hybrid organizer is simply an organizer. It's an organizer that does different things to achieve and move markets forward. Now, of course, there are different ways of looking at an event that is taking place over, let's say, a couple of days. It has an in-person experience, and maybe you want to stream that to a virtual audience. So that's a kind of simultaneously a hybrid event, and then you have kind of sequential hybrid events where you might do a virtual event this week, and next week you do in person, and afterwards you do a virtual follow-up. So I think there was many different ways of looking at what the actual kind of configuration of it is. But fundamentally, the role of an organizer has expanded beyond the 3 days. They are now responsible for connecting their communities year-round. We are there as a technology provider to make them see how they can achieve that, and to facilitate through technology those different experiences. So more technology is what it means, more ways to connect, and a bigger way for organizers to think about their role in the ecosystem.
And a bigger pie for you guys as well to share. Baptiste, how do you see this?
It will all depend on the mindset of the customer. At the end, we have to make sure that the customer understand that they can have a bigger impact in their market, and they are willing to have this impact, and they move from event planner to community builder. It's a different type of work, it's different type of knowledge, it's different type of talents. There's a lot of question. We're already doing a lot of hybrid at Swapcard, and there is a lot of challenges for our customer, and there is challenges for us. So for me, the hybrid model, it's definitely full of benefits for everyone, for the organizer, for the attendees, for the brand of the organizer. But it's also, there is a lot of challenges, and I think that we are very well positioned because we came back from the in-person world, and the historical challenges we had before pandemic will remain the same. And this challenge is to connect the people on site and making sure they have a great experience, they are efficient, they understand the value of the technology. And when you provide something, a web app online, it's much harder to provide it a mobile experience on site when we have maybe a very weak Wi-Fi within the venue. So I think there is with the hybrid, we'll have the challenge, we will have the best of the two worlds, but we also have all these challenges of these two worlds, and this is our responsibility as the event platform to help the market move towards that direction, and they really need our help and our guidance.
Thank you. I see a question from the audience that is really close to what you're discussing right now, and it's how you're helping your customers use your technology to its full potential. Are you having to co-organize in some ways? Who wants to take it? Baptiste? Tim?
Sorry. I will start. So we don't. That has been a question we had previously, because there is some very large customer who wants to have what we call white glove services, and they want us to build the platform, but we're only in charge of the platform. Okay, we don't create the content, we don't market, we don't do all this. We are a platform, so we are not an event organizer, so we never co-create. And we have decided at Swapcard, because we're a self-serve platform, not to provide white glove services. So we only provide support, and we have our external academy where our clients can go to our academy and they can be trained on selling virtual events, on creating hybrid events, and all this stuff. But we are really just a platform and providing support. So we don't do that at Swapcard.
Thank you. Tim?
I think that we take a slightly more kind of customer success focused approach. And what we do is, for example, we might work with an organizer to do an exhibitor webinar, like a couple of weeks before their event. All the exhibitors can tune into. We really strategize with them. So our customer success team almost exclusively has previously worked at event organizers. So the entire customer success, Read Exhibitions, Clarion, Comexposium, they all have a event organizer background, and they really strategize and work with our customers to create how they can actually use our technology to make it as successful for their community as possible. So I think we take a very proactive role on what are your objectives, how does that translate into the technology setup, and then how can we actually implement that from a configuration point of view. So while some might describe that as a white glove service, but I think it's just what is needed in this industry, especially as it's going through so much change, and actually to make sure that technology is used successfully, you have to take this extra step in order to really think through what is possible to be achieved with the technology that you're providing.
Thank you. I'm going to wrap up with one last question for both of you. We have an audience of entrepreneurs who is watching this. Earlier, Kai from Eufy said that it was a great time for the event industry, like we're going to double business, going to be bigger than ever, etc. And kind of calling entrepreneurs to jump in, like say, this is a good time to actually work in the event industry or build solutions or services. What would be your advice to a founder who's kind of thinking about launching a business, a startup in the event space? I'm sure you have lots of advice. What would be your number one key advice to this founder who is watching you today? Baptiste, please.
Yeah, I will say don't do it. Sorry. don't pick up this market, because it's one of the hardest markets you can select. If you have to understand that, at least for a platform like Grip and Swapcard, you have different clients. You have the attendees, the exhibitors, the organizers, they want different stuff. So you need to have a very deep platform. And then also you have the event date. So, I mean, it's a very different way to build a software, because you need to deliver on time. And this is very specific to our industry. It puts a lot of pressure on your execution. Yeah. And also I would say that the great innovation, that you should have launched a platform before COVID. Now there's a lot of very well-established leaders. So if you really want to go into that market, really think about something unique that doesn't exist.
Thank you. Tim?
I think that you have to think really carefully and about the long-term strategy of what you're looking to achieve, especially like right now in the Eventtech market, because it is such a crowded market from a technology perspective. However, there is no there is no prize for being first. You want to be lost, in the sense that, you know, YouTube was not the first video streaming company that was out there, but it is the one that everybody knows now. So I think that you can build something, even if there is many other companies that have tried and done it before and maybe are already in the market, but you have to think really carefully about the wave that you're riding and why you have something unique that is truly going to differentiate you in both the short and the long term, which is true for a company at every stage, but especially when you're starting something new.
Thank you. Well, thank you both for joining us today, sharing your learnings and experience with Hypergrowth in the last year and a half. I wish you a great success in the hybrid event, era. I'm pretty sure it's going to be good for both of you, and see you very soon.
Thank you.
See you. Bye.
See you. I'm getting to the end of